Hello, my name is Martin Bloemendaal. Congratulations! You have made it to the best part of this course, because you will now be challenged to use and apply what you have learned over the past weeks. In this video we will discuss the stepwise approach to help you in the process of making your own sustainable energy concept for your project. Until now we have explained you about different technologies and thermodynamic processes you need for sustainable heating and cooling systems. You will now combine these to make your first energy concept. To help you follow a structured method, this video elaborates on a stepwise approach that you can use in this process. As you will see, the assessment criteria of the assignment are directly linked to these steps. The first obvious step is to gather some general information about your project. This entails a short basic description on the type of project, the location, energy label and other relevant characteristics. In the second step you start to apply your learnings from week 1 and 4, as you need to identify heating and cooling demand of your project. This should include the required maximum capacities for peak demand as well as the total yearly heating and cooling load and how this is distributed across the year. Also, the temperature level needed for heat supply is key, as it determines to what extent you can use available sources directly or need conversion technologies. If you need some refresher, go back to week 1 and 4 to see what determines demand and how you can quantify this. We can imagine that you do not have all the required information available. To help you with that, we provide data for different types of buildings in the Netherlands, which you can use to extrapolate for your project. You will find this information on edX in this module. If you're not able to quantify all the characteristics, make some assumptions and describe those characteristics qualitatively. This is always better than not considering it at all. In the third step, you will identify and quantify local sources of heat or cooling. If needed, go back to week 2 and scan the local environment of your project location to see which local sources are available or can be utilized. Quantify the capacities and yearly variations in heat availability. Also here, if you're not able to quantify all characteristics, make some assumptions and describe them qualitatively. In the fourth step, you need to combine the heating and cooling demand of your project with the available sources to see for which sources you need storage, if there is a temporal mismatch in availability, conversion if the temperature level of the source does not match the required supply temperature, and distribution if your source is at some distance from your project. Go back to week 3 and 4 if you need to, and also quantify required capacities and size, which allow to also directly identify which technologies are best to be used. Again, if you're not able to quantify all characteristics, make some assumptions and describe the characteristics qualitatively. In the fifth step, you will then mix and match your possible technologies. Of course, in step 4, you've already connected some storage and conversion and distributions to specific sources. If there are multiple sources or multiple possible storage, conversion and distribution options, list all the possible combinations of technologies. By using the general application conditions of the technologies, you can discard some of the theoretical possible combinations, leaving you with a limited number of concepts, which you can present and quantify the sizing and characteristics for. The sizing again may result in some concepts to fall off due to unfeasibly small or large sizes. Following from the inventory you made, the result of this step is that at least one, but can also be more feasible concepts for heating and cooling supply for your project. In the last step, you will now evaluate and discuss the concept or concepts you have identified. Qualitatively describe the environmental benefits and possible negative effects, as well as non-technical aspects like regulation and permitting, social, societal and stakeholder perceptions, and financial considerations. For this latter part, you can go back to last week's content. These 6 steps will help you to apply and use the knowledge and insights you've acquired over the past weeks. I I can imagine that this may come across as somewhat overwhelming, as I explain this now quite extensively. But you will soon find out that once you simply start working your way through these steps, this will go quite smoothly. In my experience, most of the required information is relatively straightforward to acquire or to make a reasonable assumption for. Usually there are just a couple of details that take the most time to get quantified. To keep the workload limited for you, we suggest that you make assumptions if you run into problems finding data. A last general tip is to make sure that you keep a good track record of all the information you are collecting. You will be surprised on how much info and data you will be able to gather in a short time. To make sure you don't lose overview, it's important to store the info that is important for you in a structured, easy accessible and processable way. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you a lot of fun with the assignment.